It is time for a special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and in studio we have members of the Ross County Community Action Commission. And the executive director is Julie Bolen. She's on the far end over there. And the big guy in the middle is Steve Neal. Of course, he is a vice chairman of the board of directors. We're going to talk about some things going on at their community center and also about what they've got in the way of fundraising. Details coming up after this from our friends at McDonald's.
Whenever I first applied for the Archways opportunity, do I have to pay this back? Do I have to do that? Is it a loan? And it's not. It's a scholarship. A goal of mine is to graduate college debt-free. If you're a crew member, you get $2,500 a year, and if you're a manager, you get $3,000. And especially if you're going locally to college, like to the branch or something like that, it's really helpful.
We're visiting with Julie Bolen and Steve Neal from the Ross Community Action Commission. And we last visited Julie back in December when you had a little open house of a new place for folks who find themselves in their hard times and they're looking for a place to sleep.
Yes, so we had our grand opening on December 11th of this past year, and we've been open just now 6 months. And so we're excited to have the opportunity to share some of the things that we have going on at the Resource Center and the number of people that we're helping in the community.
What have you learned over these 6 months so far?
We've learned that there are a lot of people that need resources and help. We've served over 375 people, and that's unduplicated individuals at the Resource Center since opening over the last 12 months, and that includes 43 children.
Oh, my. I know recently you had a news release speaking about you had as many as 80 people there spending the night. That's hard to fathom these days.
Yes, it is, yeah. And we actually, over the weekend, we increased capacity to 87 because we had people that needed a place to stay. So it's just showing the numbers and the number of people that are needing services. Since opening with those people, we have been successful in helping several individuals and families transition into permanent housing. So we've been able to do that for 54 individuals and families. Mm-hmm. And so they are now in their own housing unit. So it's very helpful to have this transition option for them and to help provide supportive services and to help get them in a better situation.
Yeah. Have you had this transition before the Resource Center, or where do the numbers compare with what you had before?
Sure. So this is actually our 5th location that we've been able to set up for this type of project and services since the end of 2020. And this is by far has exceeded the numbers of all the other locations. So we're definitely seeing more of an increase of need and people using services.
Yeah. Steve, you've been a financial guy most of your life. And when the Eastern Avenue lumber property became available, were you kicking up heels and saying, let's make sure this happens?
Absolutely. It's a perfect location. It's close to the bus station. It's got everything we need, plenty of room, although it looks like we might, with 87 folks, that's a little tight. But anyhow, we jumped on it. We worked with the county commissioners and the Mayor Feeney and the city council, and they actually provided funds that were COVID funds that they had left over, and were able to provide us, most of the money that we needed to purchase the property. So we own it free and clear, which is great. We're not paying rent. We're not making a payment on it, but we still have expenses. And we've had other people try to have these shelters for people that are homeless, and the problem you have is you can't do it with all volunteers. Yeah. And that's where I think most of the homeless shelters in the past have fizzled out because of that. And so now we got a strong organization like Ross County Community Action behind it. We've got folks that are trained to work with these people, and it's really a great opportunity for our community that we haven't had before. Mm-hmm. And so that's the idea, is that we want to keep it going. And we took a leap of faith in December that the community would support us and they've been good and very good so far. But we need a little more help right now. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. So many people are familiar with the location due to its previous ownership and business. But Julie, I know when we saw each other back in December, it was exciting to get it open. But man, there's a lot more room back there that you can do some things with in the future.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, we saw this as an opportunity, and we have a lot of ideas and plans of things that we could do to potentially develop the property and add more services or housing type of services. Right now, we're focused on maintaining operations at the resource center, and we do have some things we have to do, some infrastructure upgrades. But right now we're focused on sustaining operations at the current capacity of serving 80 plus people a night.
From what we have seen, there's a kitchen area, there's a dining area that you put together. But what used to be where you would go in and buy nuts and bolts and screws and everything else in the hardware store, all that is filled with cots now.
Yes, and there's several more cots in there than from when we opened at the open house,
right?
and setting up to accommodate the numbers that we see.
Yeah. You've gone into fundraising for a specific need, and this is an opportunity to sponsor a cot.
Yes. So what we've done is we've looked at what our operating costs are as far as providing 24-hour-a-day staffing to operate, and then utilities and supplies to operate the resource center, serving that number of people. And what we've done is add that up over a 12-month period, a projected budget, and then divided it up by the number of cots we're offering every night. So we've equated that operating cost to be $12 for one cot for one night. And our fundraising campaign offers different sponsorship levels. So that's the lowest sponsorship level all the way to sponsoring a family of 5 for a year is $22,000. So, and there's a lot of options in between. So to sponsor one cot for 1 month costs $375. And those costs are strictly based on just operating expenses. And Community Action is leveraging a lot of other funds and grants to provide supportive services and the administration of the program and the management oversight of it as well.
I know a number of nonprofits who receive funds like that. They'll say, put on the memo of your check where you want your dollars to go to. Is that something that we would do in this instance as well?
Yes. We have sponsorship, basically like a commitment form available online and through our website and our Facebook page. But we will also take any amount of donation. So we've had some that have been willing to donate a certain amount of money, and it will go right to the operations of the shelter.
This is a question for both of you, whoever wants to handle this. Last time you and I sat here, you threw out this staggering number of what it takes for your budget to manage everything for the year. Has that grown? Is it what's the status?
Sure. Definitely with the number of people we're serving, we're seeing those costs increase, and for food and supplies and the staffing, the amount of staff we have is related to the number of people we have at the resource center as well. So definitely the operating budget's about $30,000 a month for us to operate at current capacity.
Per month. And if your capacity increases, of course, the numbers will go up there as well.
Absolutely. And what we're doing at this location that's different from our other locations is we're staying open 24 hours a day. And that is, that's a big change for us because we're adding, an extra 12 hours of operating time. And there's a lot more expenses that go along with doing that.
And Dan, that's the important time, though, is that, when everybody sleeps in the evening, but we do the work in the daytime, trying to get the people the services they need. And that's what's so important. And we've got the children. She mentioned the children. Almost 50 children have stayed there now. And it's amazing how well they get along with the staff and with the other guests that we have. And if you ever get down and see, last time I was down there were 3 kids playing outside and a couple inside. And it's just amazing. Where would these kids go if we didn't have this resource center? And if we didn't, if we couldn't work with these, the idea is not to stay here forever. We want to get you on your own feet and get out the door, find your own permanent residence, or some more stable type of living arrangement. And that's what we do. We're working. It's not the typical homeless shelter. That's why we got resource there. And our goal is to bring people out of homelessness and get them into homes. Yeah. And it's a tough job, but as she mentioned, we had 57 already that we moved into more permanent housing. So that's the whole idea. It's not just to provide a warehouse, I call it, to stack bodies at night to sleep. Mm-hmm. That's not what this is about. It's about trying to help these folks get to where they need to be so they can be self-sufficient, get out of the situation that they're currently in.
Yeah. Julie, you recently released a video that Dre Stewart put together for you that has some success stories in it, and that's got to feel real good to hear their testimonies.
Yes, it really does, and it's very impactful to hear those stories and the circumstances that people are in, and when they come to us, what they've experienced, and the stories. That one story, there's 378 more stories to tell, and everyone comes in with a different story and a circumstance and situation, and it's amazing to hear the success stories that are coming out of it.
Yeah. And the stories that get them to that point. Now, many of them are self-inflicted, sure, but there are other folks that just, for whatever reason, maybe a home fire or something, you become homeless.
Yes.
And you have an instant need, and that's where the resource center comes into play.
Yes.
Exactly. There's some folks that are renting, lower income type housing and there's a fire, the owner will take a while to get it rebuilt. They have nowhere to go. Yeah. And we have others that, they just don't have the wherewithal to rent. Rent's high. I mean, rent's very high right now in most cases, and a lot of people just can't afford it. And they get behind. They get it, So it's so important to have this available when people need it, and they need it. Someone needs this every day. So a winter shelter just doesn't work. Keeps people out of the cold during those 3 months or for whatever. But we need, if you really want to get people on their feet and get them moving, and get them more self-sufficient, and get them the care they need. As you mentioned, some people have medical and mental health type issues. That's what we're working on. We work with our community partners, try to get these folks the help they need. Job and Family Services come down, sign them up for Medicaid, sign them up for helping to find a job. And some of them work there long enough and stay at the shelter to get the deposit they need to get a rental place. So it's really a neat situation going on. Yeah. And it's something our community has needed for years.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you're 24/7 now as far as operations concerned. But during those winter months when we've talked about the shelter, it's like they can spend the night here, but then at a certain time, you have to go out and find something to do for the next several hours before you can come back again. This has changed the game, really, hasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it used to be we'd have to close, and they just were on the streets doing whatever they could do. The library last year allowed some folks to come in, but now they've remodeled that area, and it's no longer available. So basically, if we were going to have anything during the day, we felt like we needed to provide it, and that's kind of, again, that's the time that you work with folks to get them on their feet. When they're sleeping, you can't do that. Yeah. So the daytime is so important, and that's why the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is really the perfect model to help folks.
Julie, surely there's a network of other facilities like what we have here now that you've talked to, visited with. Are we seeing this more common in different areas of the state?
So the homelessness and the increase in homelessness is a national issue, and nationally we've seen a 7% increase in homelessness in just the since last year. So it's not unique to Ross County. The state has similar issues with it. But I would say our community has been very unique and innovative in how we're dealing with it. And this is a unique model that you really won't see other places, at least in a rural community like ours. And the collaboration that we've had with our county commissioners and the city of Chillicothe and so many organizations and partners that are helping support this, from Job and Family Services and the library and the health district, and just so many partners and so many churches and faith-based organizations that are helping. It's amazing. So I think while homelessness is not a unique issue, how we're dealing with it as a community is unique and amazing.
Every community has its negatives, but Chillicothe, as I have learned over the years of being here, is unique, like you say, in the fact that we find a way to get things solved.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For folks who have never experienced the Resource Center, do you still accept volunteers that will help? And if, say, someone's having a fundraiser and they've got all this food left over and they don't know what to do with it, can they come to you folks?
Yes, absolutely. And that is one area when we get asked about volunteers and support. That's a time of the day for serving dinner is extremely helpful, and a lot of groups will bring in, because we do have a little kitchenette, but we don't have a full kitchen. So preparing meals can be challenging, especially for 80 people every night. So we gladly take support for food and other supplies and donations and clothing. And so that's very helpful to us. And we welcome people in also. So we want this to be basically, we have like an open door policy with the Community Resource Center, and anyone's welcome at any time to come in. And if you want to drop something off or take a tour, we're happy to do that. We want it to be a community-based center, and where people can come in and be part of it.
Yeah. And what we realize, excuse me, we can't do it all ourselves. We need the community. And that's kind of what this Sponsor a Cot fundraiser is all about, is that, and we know the community will respond. And that's what we really love about Chillicothe, as you mentioned. And to take care of the kids is very unique. I think if you look at homeless shelters in different places, taking care of the kids, the families, is really unique to what we do. Yeah. And to me, that just tugs at my heart to think of it, children that have no place to live. And thank goodness we've got this place available. And we hope to keep it that way.
Yeah. And you can speak with your dollars to help in a great way. Because when you make a donation to your organization, you know what to do with that money to make it most impactful. So if you want to write a check or drop off a case of money or whatever the case may be, it could be helpful to Ross County Community Action.
Yes, extremely helpful.
Yeah. Anything we've not touched on you wanted to make sure we knew before we wrap up?
The other thing I wanted to make sure people understand is sometimes they're confused by our name, Ross County Community Action, like we're affiliated with the government. We're not part of Ross County government. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization. These are totally charitable deductions that you can claim if you're able to. So we don't get annual support from the city and county. Are very supportive of different things like buying the building. They helped us out a lot during COVID and that sort of thing. But really, we get no annual appropriation or anything from the government.
You're not in their budget.
That's right. We're not part of Ross County as far as the county government goes. And I think that's kind of, people kind of, when they hear Ross County Community Action, they kind of feel that. And we haven't really been good in the past of trying to raise funds for community action. But these are new projects that we need funding for. And we're willing to do it. Julie's done an excellent job. Her staff's done an excellent job putting these programs together. But we need the community support, and I know we'll get it.
Yeah. Anything you want to wrap up with, Julie?
No, just that, we do appreciate the community support for what we're doing. And I know we're very supported. And I just hope that, we continue to get that support to maintain it. And, it's a new, exciting project. But to sustain it and to be able to serve the people we're serving, we're gonna need additional support for that.
And you can go to our website, you can go to our Facebook page, and there's a link there where you can easily donate to us. Or you can just send a check to the address. What is your address? I'm sorry.
250 North Woodbridge.
250 North Woodbridge.
Yeah. It's back over there behind the Good Sam Food Network.
That's correct.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I've known these folks for a long time. This guy a lot longer than I have Julie. They're good people. They know what they're doing. in helping our community. And we appreciate you guys coming in today.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you,
thing.
Dan. Thank
Appreciate
you.
the opportunity.
Yes.
Julie Bolen, Steve Neal, I'm Dan Ramey. Thanks for watching this edition of Litter Media Live.